What's up, Kate? How you doing today?
I'm good, Drew. How are you?
Dude, I'm doing good, man. Hanging in there. It's been a busy week last week, busy week this week, but this Friday, man, I'm super stoked to get the NGRN popping.
I know, dude. Doesn't it feel like it's been forever since we had a meetup? I don't know. I feel like doing these videos once a week is awesome. And for some reason, it just feels so long since we've had the last one. So,
Seriously. I completely agree, dude. I feel like it really shows the span of time because you can get locked in that sense of just go, 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 and the weeks fly by. But when you have metrics like these weekly meetings that we do together, it really helps capture like, wow, it actually has been a hot minute since we've all gotten together.
for real, dude.
Sweet, man. Well, let's hear it. Hit us up. Let us know what's going on in your world.
Yeah, man. So this week, I'm hitting on some Tucson metrics. So when I hit again on month supply, again, that's the absorption rate for anyone who doesn't know, kind of shows us, whether we're in a buyer's or seller's market. Okay. So in Tucson, February 2023, the month supply was 1.6. So you can kind of see we're still between 1 and 2, which is a buyer and seller's market. So this is what I'm telling clients all the time is, yes, in some instances, some buyers have an upper hand depending how long the house has been sitting on market, kind of, everything that the house is all plays a factor in kind of where you're positioned as a buyer for that specific property. But as we can see, the numbers show that as a whole, right, it's a mix. So again, if you're a buyer or a seller, right, depending how competitive you want to be, really determines what you kind of look for and how you take advantage of the market. So my biggest call to action today is, again, if you're a buyer, get with an agent who knows their stuff, who knows the data, who knows the numbers. That way they can best position you in regards to what home you want and how you negotiate your offer. And then if you're a seller, just be very aware of the, current market conditions and making sure that if you want to be competitive in the market, you're going to have to price somewhat a little lower. And, if you're not in a rush right now, you can be a little less competitive. So just seek an agent, who can really understand the numbers and inform you of them as well.
Love that. I love that. I love that, man. Dude, it's crazy this real estate market, man. It's been really, really interesting to set. And that's one of the benefits to doing this video is like I'm learning more and more about the real estate market and just the intricacies and how things work. And so it's super interesting to always see, how things are shifting, especially in different markets, right? Like how one market could be different than another market. And so I like that.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. And you're seeing right now too, certain sellers may not be aware of the market they're in. And some of the agents that I'm dealing with on a day-to-day basis don't understand the market we're in. So I literally had an agent tell me today, we're not in a buyer's market. Okay. And this is a home in Saudita, right?
Mhm.
Again, for her specific property, she may be right, right? Her home, you know, has only been on the market for a couple of weeks, right? Her listing.
Mhm.
But she's absolutely wrong in the sense that,
The
right,
overall market.
the overall market, it 100%, the data shows it. I went over it last week. We are in a buyer's market, right?
Absolutely.
And this lady has her home priced at an ungodly amount. So, but anyway, aside from that, it's just you're you need to have someone on. We always preach about having the right members on your team, and it's important because you're going to run into. There's so much to just buying a house, right? It's not just saying, "Oh, I love that house, let's go buy it," right? As nice and easy as that would be, you have to deal with people like this, right? Where the current state of the market, you have someone who's maybe a little more knowledgeable, right? And can position and even price the property correctly, and someone who can, and then you just kind of butt heads because there's just no agreement there. So you really got to use people on your team that know what they're doing and who understand the data and kind of the market cycles. So anyway, enough of real estate. Drew, update us on life insurance.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And so I typically always open up with my, industry like or the indexes and what they're performing, but I think this month or this week is super important that I just kind of dive in. And I want to share a story that I have recently come across, and so I want to make sure, to really spread the understanding of life insurance and how important it is. So
Yeah.
working a case, and this lady that I was working with was going through all of the process, the steps and steps and steps of, just getting life insurance set in place. She understood the value. She understood everything that was, important about life insurance. And so how life insurance works is when you start, you go through the process, you get what's called conditionally covered. So you are conditionally covered up to $500,000, and it, either policy, and if it's more than that, then it stops at that $500,000 max. Anyways, that's conditionally saying that you're going to go through the process of, filling out the application, filling out the questionnaires that are involved, and then going through medicals. Well, we've been in COVID for a few years, and it didn't work out time wise, and she didn't really want people in her house. And so for her and her husband to actually get tested and go through the medical process, and her conditional coverage lapsed. Well, a few weeks ago, her husband was driving his car, and was driving on 10 and got into an accident, and passed away. And because their conditional coverage was lapsed, and because they didn't actually go through, she's now a single mom with a kid, and like has nothing, doesn't have the time to grieve, doesn't have the time to actually get the coverage that she needs, or excuse me, didn't get the money from the passing of her husband that she needed. And now she's just stuck. So she got, and everyone says, work is fine, work's good enough, and 2 times salary, that's all I need, without thinking about the actual impact that happens on the back end when, that work runs out, right? Having 2 years of income, that's 2 years, great. In this specific case, she was a stay-at-home mom, didn't have, the proper education, didn't have the experience to be able to walk into a job that she could make the exact amount of money that her husband was making prior to his passing. And so, yeah, so it was a hard conversation to say, like, the life insurance lapsed because you didn't get the medicals done. And so I stress the importance of having proper life insurance needs set into place, because things like that happen to everybody.
Yeah.
And not, if there's only 2 guarantees in life, death, and taxes. And so making protected
Right.
on the life side as well as best as possible, to make sure, because that can happen to anybody, and everybody thinks they're invincible until they have anything, someone close to them, and then they realize, I mean, I have insurance, you have insurance.
Yeah.
So just making sure that you're putting that into play.
Yeah, and I had a really close friend, pass away in I think it was November of last year. He was only 21, man, 21 or 22. And it's just like I mean, you do not think of that stuff, especially as a young person. So, Drew, would you recommend for young people like us, right? Would you recommend opening life insurance now?
Absolutely. Even if you're getting term, right? Because the whole concept is people don't understand like the importance of term versus whole life. And they don't understand that it's a process, right? Like even you and I, we don't have the money to be shelling out. I mean, maybe we do, but like I don't have the money to be shelling out a boatload of money on a whole life right now. Right. But
Right.
I do have enough money that I can shell out. And I understand the importance of putting in a term policy now before you have married, before you have kids, to then convert it to a whole life. And that's the question you should ask yourself, right? Like, is marriage and as having kids an eventual plan in your future? If that's the case, then put something in plan, put something in place, because you never know what could happen, and things happen in a really, really weird way. Right. And
Yeah.
so making sure that you're taking everything into play, on top of the fact that, and if you sit down with me and we discuss, like, there's a ton of living benefits that apply to life insurance. It's not just insurance on your death. It's just, that's the piece that starts, that's the starting piece. Then we sort of put into different places and figure things out.
Yeah.
So
I think it's important to note as well, even if as a young person you're not married, or maybe you don't even plan on having kids or a family in the future, you could bless your immediate family if you
absolutely.
were to pass away, right? So let's say you had, $1 million policy, right, that you open up and you die unexpectedly, right? I
Mm.
mean, you could have your immediate family as a beneficiary, and as rough and sucky as it was, to lose you, right? They could be blessed in the fact that they could take time, to grieve your loss, right? So I mean, the what am I trying to say? Like the benefit of it versus what it costs you is like exponential in my eyes, especially after seeing my friend pass away and what that does. It's just you would hate in all of that turmoil and dark of a season to have to deal with the financial burden as well. So if that could be taken care of, that's like one less thing you got to worry about, and you can just grieve. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then
yeah,
the
it
other
was.
thing too is just like, thinking about even burial costs, right? Funerals, those all have costs attached to them. So even if you're putting away a policy just enough to cover those basic expenses, I mean, having something in line, and you're right, blessing your family, blessing a charity,
Yeah,
blessing, just having that benefit, having that, tied to you is super important and pivotal. And it's, every plan has to have a foundation, and that is the strongest foundational piece. So
yeah, absolutely.
sweet, man. Well,
Cool,
that's a
man.
tough conversation, but let's end on a positive quote. You got one, Cade?
I know, I know. I was just gonna say, man, this got kind of dark. But the truth is, it is a reality, so
Absolutely.
you want to get that stuff taken care of as soon as
Absolutely.
possible.
Absolutely.
Um, so that's funny. I don't necessarily have a quote top of mind, but what I can say is I just finished reading Proverbs in the Bible. And if anyone doesn't know, Proverbs was written by King Solomon, which was one of the richest men in the world. I think I looked it up on Google. Every month, I think he was bringing in like tens of billions of dollars worth of gold every month. I mean, the man was just stupid loaded, right?
Wow.
And he's considered one of the most wise men,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And so in the Proverbs, it's always talking about, the wise and the foolish, right? And Solomon's constantly comparing foolish men versus wise men, right? And so not necessarily a quote, but I think a message, be careful who you surround yourself with. You and, Drew, you and I, we're very particular about who we hang around.
Mhm.
And it's not because, we hate people or anything like that. It is just because we would hate to be, foolish, right? And when you read the Proverbs, it's very easy to become foolish. I mean, you may be doing things you don't even necessarily know is foolish, right? And it is technically, and according, to the Proverbs. So just a message out there, be very intentional who you're hanging around. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to be labeled a fool.
Absolutely. Absolutely not. uh, I agree. I agree. And you're exactly right. We're both super intentional, very, very particularly in who we choose to spend our time with, because, it can seriously deviate. I mean, there's that quote, you are the average of the top 5 people you spend the most time with. So making
Yeah.
sure you're intentional and consistent with who you spend your time with is important. So
Absolutely. And
awesome,
if you
man.
guys, yeah, if you guys want a place to hang around cool, intentional people, come to our meetup this Friday, 5:30. We meet at the Sands Club at the U of A. Everyone is welcome. Invite people. If you are in business, you are an entrepreneur, and you just want to network and meet other like-minded people, you are invited.
Absolutely, absolutely. Everybody, age, gender, well, no
Yep.
matter what, be there and you'll meet a
Be
lot of
there.
people. I love it.
Be there or be square.
That's it, man. Sweet, awesome, man. Well, I will see you Friday, and I hope to see most of you guys on Friday, and I'm looking forward to it.
Likewise. See y'all there.